How to train your team or your virtual assistant effectively. Even though you are not physically present, you do not want to miss this out. Hey guys, this is June because I was born in June, and welcome to my amazing live today. So if you have not checked out my free course on how to use ChatGPT to power up your productivity, you do not want to miss out this free course at junlo.net/ChatGPT. So come back to this topic. So I have always been questioned by some of you guys who DM me and ask me like, June, how do you train your virtual assistant or your team so that they can work on their tasks independently? I think this is one of the great questions that is being asked, especially when you're starting out as a solopreneur. You always tend to do things on your own, but then after that you felt like, hey, you only have 24 hours in the day, and you want to delegate it to your team members. And here's the problem. You want to delegate, but after you felt like you have taught your team members, they just couldn't get it. They just couldn't perform the task as per what you expected, and you feel very disappointed. And I feel you. I have been there. So that's the reason why for this episode, I'm just going to debunk about 4 tips that is very helpful for you guys. And these are the basic concepts when I'm using it in order to teach my team. So let's come back to the number 1. So the number 1 is very easy. It's to make the training as easy and as simple as possible. So how do I train usually is that I always chunk down the entire task. Like, I'm just going to give you an example. So let's assume that I want to train my team or my virtual assistant in order to roll out a funnel, roll out a sales funnel or landing page as per what I always had. So I want to make it easy for them. And especially if my team members, they have no knowledge in using any software before, or using any landing page software before, it may be hard for them to kind of like understand what you need, right? So the first thing is to build an SOPs. But I understand that building an SOPs, it sounds like a lot of works. So my tip in building SOP is this. When I'm trying to teach my team or my virtual assistant on how to build my funnels, and it's their first time, I'm just going to jump on a Zoom call. And in that Zoom call, I make it clear to my assistant that, hey, you know what? This is going to be a training session on how to build a sales funnel, and I'm just going to show her bits by bits. Okay, after maybe the training will take about 15 minutes to 20 minutes, I try not to overwhelm her by just maybe showing her how to input an image, how to make a video, how to create a columns, and how to create a row, and how to change it to be mobile responsive. So let's assume that in part 1, I'm training her on this. So after that, I'm just going to stop the video. I'm not going to record a video for about an hour-ish because it is very difficult to concentrate for an hour of training. So the most efficient kind of training is make it about bite-size, about 15 minutes, I think is good enough. And after the 15 minutes, I stop the training and I directly ask my assistant, hey, you know what? I want you to execute it right now as per what I taught you. And after she executed it, and there will be always a Q&A sessions, right? She will always have questions to ask, and I will encourage her to ask me as many as questions right after the Zoom video. And while she's performing the task, she will also have questions, so I will encourage her to ask me. So at the end of the day, she will be able to spend about another 15 minutes to perform what I've just shown her just now, right? And here's the best part. I will just go and check out her work. And if her work is done 100% correctly, firstly, I will actually compliment her just to build her confidence. And secondly, I will ask her to actually, based on what she have learned just now, and based on the video training that I rolled out just now, to build a step-by-step SOP for me. SOP stands for Standard of Operating Procedures. So basically the step-by-step manual, my first ever goal in manual building is this. This manual must be able to be understood by a 10-year-old child. All right. So if a 10-year-old can understand that manual, then the manual or the SOP is a very successful one. Does it make sense to you guys? So that's the first tip. You build an SOP, but you don't have to type it out yourself, but it's easier to show your VAs on what to do over a Zoom call video, and you record a Zoom call. And after that, have your VA or your team to perform the exact same task, and also have them to come out the manual or SOPs for you. All right. So the second thing is that okay, you have to, not only that we need to teach the how to do things, but a lot of times I will also teach them why I'm doing that. Like, it is so important for them to grasp the idea of why. I'm trying to find an example. Like, for example, let's say that you guys know that I always have this 7-day amazing video challenge as one of our signature programs to help to get people to overcome their fear in front of camera. So if you are interested, you can check it out at www.amazingchallenge.us, and we are starting on 17th of May. We are going to have a lot of fun together. So when we are actually having this amazing video challenge, there are a lot of to-do lists prior to having to set up this challenge, right? So that one of the to-do lists will be, we need to set up the email sequences, okay? And obviously, if my team, it's the first time of them like knowing about these email sequences, they may not know the importance of having these email sequences. So that is the reason why I'm going to chip in. I'll explain to them, hey, you know what? The reasons that we are going to send out a lot of different email sequences, like before the challenge starts, we are going to send out like 3 hours before, 1 hour before, and 15 minutes before. The reason is simple, because people are forgetful, and we want to have a lot of different points of communication with them so that they remember that there is this challenge going on. And not only that, we are going to motivate them by including a lot of different quotes of the day. So when I explain these reasons why to my team member, they understand, hey, it is super important to send these email sequences, and let's get the messaging in the email sequences right. So it is very important right after the steps, and I will actually explain the why, the reasons to them, so that it is easy for them to understand the idea rather than just memorizing the scripts, okay? So the third thing in training, the training is always a combination between theory, I would say like theory is more like the input. When your team member is trying to learn things, they can learn by watching and by reading. That's the first layer, which is the input to them, right? Watching or reading, right? It can be reading your SOPs or reading your manuals, but then they don't actually learn it until they do it. So which is the practice part. So there must be always a combination between a 50% theory or 50% practice. It depending on the percentage is not so important, but it depending on how you're actually adjusting it according to the capabilities of your team members and also the teaching style. But it will never work when you just dump on your team member 100% of theory and there is no practices and you expect them to be able to perform the task. So there is always a training loop. First, you teach, that's theory, and then after that, you let them practice. All right, that's the practice, that's the execution side. And then lastly, it will come down with feedback. So it's your first time that your team member is learning. When you want to give the feedbacks, always focusing on the positive one first, build up their confidence, because when they are having a great feelings about their work, they are very confident in themselves, of their learning capabilities, they will tend to learn better. I will always start with a positive praise, compliments, reinforcement, followed by areas to improve. I will not say that this is the things that they have done wrong, but I would rather just to communicate in a ways that areas for improvement. So the choice of words are very important because it's always focusing on the positive side. Does it make sense to you guys? Okay. So the fourth one, let me see. All right. So the fourth one is important. I'm actually jotting it down in my long piece of paper. So if you want to be able to create a live video just like me anytime, anywhere, to join our amazing video challenge at www.amazingchallenge.us. And the fourth point, this is so crucial when it comes to training. So obviously everyone makes mistakes, right? Even though you have trained your team, you felt like you have trained the best, you have put your best effort in training them, but then they do make mistakes. So when mistakes are being made, so this is what I'm going to do, especially in the beginning of training. I will prepare a Google Sheet, and then I will have my team member, whenever they make a mistake and I found out, I will request them to actually put this down on that Google Sheet that will actually document a few things. The first thing is the date, and the second thing is the mistakes that you have made, which you want to avoid in the future. And the third thing is that what could be the correct way of doing the thing, or what could be the correct solution. All right, and the fourth, I want them to categorize, is this a new information or is this they actually kind of like forget or miss out. Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to categorize like, is this person doesn't have a system of remembering the to-do list? Because if let's say they kind of forget about a task to do, then we just need to fix the forgetfulness, all right? If it is a new information that they just learned, then it just treat them just like a machine learning. So the ChatGPT doesn't understand what I wanted to teach, so that's why I'm teaching the ChatGPT the new information. That's how the ChatGPT learns, right? So same thing as your team members. Maybe to you it's like a information that they should know, but then to them it's like the first hand of information they just newly heard of. So that's the reason why it is very important to have this Google Sheet. But before having this Google Sheet with my team, I always tell them, hey, you know what? This is just a learning system that will work, right? It isn't a sheet that I keep track just to tell you that, hey, how many mistakes that you have made in a day. But it's actually for yourself to know that where you are at this training, and it's very effective and it's very efficient. I've trained so many different levels of people. I used to be a home tutor when I was younger, when I was in my college. I trained the kids about 7 to 12. Later on, I actually trained the kids from 13 to 15 as well, on the subjects like mathematics and English as well. So that's the reason why this system works every single time, no matter the age range that I'm training. So I hope that you guys loving this video. And if you do, can you give me a like or comment down below? Also subscribe to my YouTube channel so that I'm going to share you guys, share with you guys more information about how I train my team, as well as more productivity tools that I'm using myself too. So without further ado, so remember, if you want to be able to create live video anytime, anywhere, to check out our amazing video challenge at www.amazingchallenge.us, or to join our Facebook group at www.amazingstory.co, so that I'll share with you guys more tutorial and whenever I have any updates. All right. With that, I'm going to see you guys in the next video then. Take care. Bye.